Hello, and welcome to the Synthetic Biology Research Opportunities webinar hosted by the Army HBCU-MI Student Program for Army Research and Knowledge, or as we like to call it, SPARK. Today's webinar aims to provide valuable insights into how researchers and universities can align their work with Army priorities and engage directly with ARL program managers to discuss innovative research ideas. Today's speakers include Dr. Valerie Martindale and Dr. Stephanie McElhenney. They are both from the DEVCOM ARL Army Research Office. And you will also be hearing from Dr. Edward Perkins from the U.S. Army Engineer Research and Development Center, or as we call it, ERDC. Our speakers will provide information for roughly 30 to 40 minutes, and then we'll open the floor to any questions that you may have. My name is Crystal Nolan, and before we turn the presentation over to our Army speakers, I'd like to discuss the webinar format for a few moments. We ask that you keep your microphone muted during the presentation today, but during the Q&A session, we will invite you to open your mic to ask questions. You can also use the chat feature to ask questions at any time, and we will also capture those questions for you, for the speakers to answer during the Q&A session. If you have questions about using the Zoom platform for this event, please feel free to enter them in the chat window right now. Technical support is on hand to help you with any issues that you may be having. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Martindale and Dr. McElhenney for their presentations.
Thank you so much, Crystal. I'm going to kick things off today. So let me just get my screen shared. Okay, can someone please confirm that that is in presentation mode and everything looks okay?
It looks yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. All right, awesome. Okay, so yes, so thank you so much for the introduction and for the opportunity to present today. I'll be sharing this presentation with Dr. Martindale. And today what we'd like to do is, as you heard, we're going to be sharing some research opportunities related to the field of synthetic biology, both within the Army Research Laboratory's Army Research Office, where Dr. Martindale and I sit, and also the Army Corps of Engineers Engineer Research and Development Center, where Dr. Perkins sits. So first, Dr. Martindale and I will present some funding opportunities that are available through programs at the ARL Army Research Office. So within the Army Research Office, basic research in synthetic biology can align with a number of different programs, and that depends upon the specific research objectives that you have. So I'd like to provide a brief synopsis here of the 4 programs that reside in the biological and biotechnology sciences competency. Our biogeochemistry program is led by Dr. Liz King-Doonan, and the vision for Liz's program is to determine the transport and transformation of chemical and biological compounds of interest so that we can enable unprecedented sensing, prediction, manipulation, and mitigation strategies. There are 3 current focus areas in the biogeochemistry program: fate and transport. Here, the goal is to characterize biogeochemical reactions that drive immobilization of Army-relevant compounds, and to elucidate how bottom-up processes can impact environments at scale. Second is the environmental forensics focus area. Here, the goal is to integrate computational methodologies for robust predictions of complex systems and to develop novel fingerprinting techniques. And finally, biogeochemistry to inform national security. Here, the goal is to characterize the role of biogeochemistry on resource competition, environmental security, and operational stability. Second is the biochemistry program, which I manage. And the vision for this program is to understand and control the activity and assembly of biomolecules so that we can expand the chemical diversity that's accessible by biomolecules and to support biological activity outside of the natural cellular environment, including integrating biological systems with synthetic systems. There are two current focus areas for this program. First, biomolecular specificity and regulation. Here, the goal is to develop novel engineered approaches to modulate and control biomolecular activity, with emphasis on expanding the chemical diversity that's accessible by biomolecules and by achieving biomolecular control in non-cellular contexts. And the second focus area is biomolecular assembly and organization. Here, the goal is to understand the molecular interactions and design rules that govern self-assembly of biomolecules, including hybrid architectures that are comprised of both biological and abiological components. Third is our microbiology program, led by Dr. Bob Kokoska. And the vision of Bob's program is to understand the features and traits of microbial survival and metabolism under native growth conditions, and also to decipher nature's design rules for maintaining communities of microbes as a function of their environment. There are two current focus areas for Bob's program: microbial survival mechanisms in challenging and extreme environments. Here, the goal is to elucidate cellular and genetic mechanisms and responses that underlie bacterial, archaeal, and fungal survival in the face of a variety of different environmental stresses. And the second focus area is analysis and engineering of microbial communities. Here, the goal is to understand the principles that drive the formation, proliferation, sustenance, and robustness of microbial communities through reductionist, systems-level, ecological, and evolutionary approaches. And finally, our genetics program, led by Dr. Mimi Strand, where the vision is to advance the identification and characterization of genetic variation, gene function, gene regulation, genetic interactions, gene pathways, gene expression patterns, epigenetics, mitochondrial regulation and biogenesis, and nuclear and mitochondrial DNA stability and instability. There are three current focus areas for this program. First is mitochondrial integrity, where the goal is to understand the genes and pathways that affect mitochondrial integrity and oxidative stress. Second is genetic variation. Here we want to understand, characterize, and exploit genetic variation within and between species. And finally, prokaryotic-eukaryotic interactions, where the goal is to understand the relationships with and the effects of prokaryotes and fungi on larger eukaryotes. So you can see that synthetic biology could impact and could relate to all four of these programs. I also wanted to point out two other topic areas within the ARO that could also include synthetic biology research, depending upon the specific research objectives that you may have. And those are the biomathematics program and the bionic electronics program. And they're listed at the bottom in the gray box there. And so what I want to mention is that each of these programs has a topic ID number that you can see there. That will help you identify that topic within the broad agency announcement for the Army Research Laboratory. And I'll talk a little bit more about the broad agency announcement a bit later. But I also want to mention that this is not a comprehensive list of the ARO programs by any means. You can view all of the ARL research programs in our broad agency announcement. And another thing we'd like to emphasize, these were just some brief synopses of these programs. You can find a lot more detail in the BAA, but we also keep these program descriptions open-ended so that we can solicit unique, high-risk, and novel ideas. And so we encourage you to talk to the program managers during the project idea curation stage to get a better sense of program priorities and how those might pertain to your research ideas. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well later. So before we get into more specifics regarding the various funding mechanisms that are available to you through the Army Research Office, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Martindale, who will introduce DEVCOM ARL ARO and explain how the Army Research Office is organized.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. And I'm going to give you just a brief overview of the organization and our mission. If we go to the next slide. So the string of letters at the top there, that is actually a hierarchy: DEVCOM, ARL, ARO. DEVCOM is the Army's Combat Capabilities Development Command. It's a military command. And then underneath that, a major agency is the Army Research Laboratory, ARL. The Army Research Laboratory is divided into intramural and extramural components, and the Army Research Office is the extramural. That is, we are focused on funding and soliciting and being aware of research that takes place outside of the Department of Defense in primarily academia, also small businesses and industry as well. And then you see our mission. It's a five-fold mission there. And the first thing, of course, is the science. It's very important to us to be able to have awareness and some investment in fundamental discovery science that will lead to revolutionary capabilities in 20, 30, or 40 years. We really are focusing on basic discovery science here. And so one of the important things for you to know is that you don't have to have an Army application in mind. It's actually not your job to tell us why the Army would be interested. It is our job to tell the Army why they would be interested in the research that you might be proposing. We also wish to solve existing programs, and so we're always looking for science that fits into areas where we know we have technology needs. We wish to accelerate the transition from that basic science into proof of concept and ultimately into usable technology and finally products. And then we also have a very important mission in educating, both bringing up the future workforce for the United States and also to be able to educate persons who may wish to join the federal government and be part of ARO's research mission or ARL's research mission in the future. And then, of course, it's important to us to maintain the United States lead in technological superiority. And one of the things that keeps me up at night, in fact, is avoiding technological surprise. And so my main concern is what is happening that I don't know about yet. And this is where those innovative new ideas are really important for us to hear about. You go on to the next slide. You see the lineup of scientific areas on the left-hand side there. We call those the competencies. And biological and biotechnology sciences, we get to be first alphabetically. And the research then and the broad agency announcement that Stephanie mentioned is divided into those 11 competencies. Within each one, there are multiple program managers. And the program managers would be your primary contact. And this is something that ARO does very differently from NIH, for example. We really like to have a one-on-one conversation with you if you have an idea that you think is of interest, and you do not have to go through putting together a full proposal in order to find out that it is not of interest. By the time you're actually asked to put in a proposal, your chances of acceptance are around 80% or so, because we've already thought through the idea and decided that it is of value. So that's important, I think, for you to know. And let's see, anything else I want to say here? Really, the emphasis is on the program managers. And let's go on, advance a couple more slides there. One more. Okay, so within those 11 competencies, there are 42 different scientific programs, each one with its own program manager. And as you can see, they are organized into major subject areas. But as Dr. McElhenney mentioned, some of the other competency areas also apply to biological and biotechnology sciences. And another thing that is important for you to know is if the program manager that you chose to contact isn't the best one, we do all talk to each other, and we will pass it along to someone who is the right contact for you. So you should not hesitate. Make your best guess, but don't stress over it too much if you have a research idea. And I'm going to turn it back to Stephanie at this point to talk about our particular competency area.
All right, thanks so much, Dr. Martindale. So as Dr. Martindale just mentioned, even though you may see a program organized under one competency, the idea that fundamental research is wide-ranging means that many programs are investing in research that supports all sorts of capabilities. And so while the programs we highlighted at the beginning of the presentation here are assigned to this BBS competency, they invest in research and work with Army scientists across the full spectrum of competencies. And what this means for PIs is please don't be afraid to pitch out-of-the-box ideas, because program managers are always looking for new directions to take their programs. So now I'd like to highlight the different types of awards that are available to you through the Army Research Office. ARO programs support a variety of different awards using several broad agency announcements, and all of those BAAs can be found on our website. So I'd like to focus on the awards in bold font here, the first 4 of which can be found in the ARL broad agency announcement. So first, our single investigator awards. These provide funding at an average of about $150K per year, and awards are typically 3 years in duration. These are usually single laboratory projects, but program managers can consider joint projects that include 2 or 3 co-PIs, for example. Second are our short-term innovative research, or STIR projects. These awards provide $60K for 9 months, and the idea is to support very high-risk pilot projects here. And often successful STIR efforts can sometimes lead to single investigator projects as well. Third are our early career awards. These awards provide funding at $120K per year for 3 years, and they are open to US citizens, US nationals, or US permanent residents who have held a tenure track position at a US institution for less than 5 years. So if you're within 5 years of your first tenure track position, this is an award that is available to you. And fourth, funding is also available to support conferences, workshops, and symposia, and typical awards for these are in the 10 to 30K range. So ARL programs invest in HBCUs and MIs through our primary ARL BAA, but we also have annual opportunities to support HBCUs and MIs through other DoD programs, including the OSD Research and Education Program, which is that other bold program listed on the slide there. Okay, so how can a prospective PI engage with ARO? So first, review the broad agency announcements. These provide program descriptions and all of the details regarding the procedures for the solicitation. Our BAA can be found on the ARL website under the Collaborate with Us tab, as well as on grants.gov. And you'll be able to filter the current ARO disciplines and the contact information for the appropriate program managers using the BAA tool on our website. And I wanted to point out the Collaborate with Us page on the ARL site. It also includes links where you can explore collaborative partnerships with ARL, including our educational partnerships, as well as technology transfer opportunities as well. So once you identify a program, it's time to start the idea curation process. Program managers may have very different processes for how they handle idea curation, so we recommend that you reach out to them first. Many program managers may ask you for a research menu, which is a couple of pages with 2 to 3 high-risk ideas that you are interested in pursuing. A program manager can review those or share those with other program managers, as Dr. Martindale mentioned, who may have interest. And if a topic strikes a chord with a program manager, they may ask you for a white paper, and you may have follow-up discussions about the topic. If a program manager encourages you to submit a proposal, this will need to come through grants.gov, following all of the formatting and submission instructions in the BAA. Proposals are reviewed by external academic evaluators and also Army and DoD subject matter experts. Program managers will analyze several factors when determining whether to recommend a proposal for funding, and those include program fit, the feedback they've received from the evaluators, the availability of funding, the potential of the project for scientific discovery, and the potential of the project to transition to more applied research for the Army if it's successful. And if your proposal is selected for funding, you can expect regular engagement with your program manager about your research through site visits, conference attendance, collaboration building, and formal reporting, all of which helps to broker relationships with the internal Army scientific community. So next, I wanted to share some of the questions we encourage you to consider as you develop your idea into a project concept that's appropriate for ARO. So first, is it basic research? What's the scientific question? What foundational knowledge is not currently available? I want to point out that proposals that focus on specific devices or components or technologies are really beyond the scope of ARO's mission. Second, is it hard? If it's an old question, why haven't we found an answer yet? If it's a new question, what's the sticky part? Third, why you and why now? What's been done before? Why wasn't it successful? What's novel about your skills, your abilities, or your approach that makes you think there's a shot at an answer now? What new advance provides an opportunity to make new progress? Fourth, so what? Who cares? What impact will the research make on the scientific community? What are the potential implications for the future of technology? Fifth, where's the risk? How confident are you that you're asking the right question? How will you know when you have an answer? And if you find a different answer, will you still learn something? And finally, what will it take? What resources will you need to pursue the research? Time, money, infrastructure, personnel, partnerships. So I'd like to close with some final tips and tricks. For ARO, always lead with the science, as Dr. Martindale emphasized with our mission statement. And also, please don't tell the Army how to solve its problems. Instead, offer us enabling research that could help the Army implement solutions. If you don't get a response when you first reach out, please send another email. Program managers are often very busy. Our inboxes get very full. And so please be patient with us and just send us a reminder if we haven't gotten back to you. Always proofread what you send to the program managers. And also offer to review proposals. This is a great way to gain a better understanding of the type of research that a particular program is exploring. Our proposals, as I mentioned, are evaluated by both academic peer reviewers and DoD subject matter experts. And typically, we're going to have 4 to 5 reviewers for a proposal, 3 to 4 from the academic community, and at least 1 Army or DoD SME. The technical portion for our proposals are typically around 15 to 20 pages. Certain programs will have page limits, but our core BAA does not. And so you really have a chance to explain what you are doing. Try to avoid buzzwords. Link your project to current work if possible to demonstrate feasibility. Again, always lead with the science, and please give us enough technical details so that our reviewers can determine what it is you'd like to do and how you're going to go about doing it. All right, so we appreciate the opportunity today to share this information with you. You can feel free to contact Dr. Martindale, Ms. Janine Owens, who is the ARO HBCU-MI Outreach Program Manager, or me with any questions following today's session that you might not be able to answer during the question portion. And at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Perkins, who will highlight some partnership opportunities for collaborative synthetic biology projects at the Army Corps of Engineers Engineer Research and Development Center.
Thank you, Stephanie. Let me share my.
Yeah, let me stop sharing. There you go.
Let's see. No, there we go. No, there we go. All right, can everyone see everything?
Yes,
It
that
looks
looks
great.
good.
Let me get mine. There we go. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about some of our work and opportunities we might have to get to HBCUs and other minority institutions. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what ERDC does. It's often not known what we do, what kind of things we're looking for, and what kind of programs are we involved with for HBCU applicants. I can learn how to share. Oops. There we go. Oh, there we go. So ERDC is actually made of 7 labs spread out through the country. We've got one. The headquarters are in Mississippi, in Vicksburg, Mississippi. We have a lab in Champaign, Illinois, construction engineering research lab. We have a lab near DC area, which is a geospatial research lab. And up high up there above New York, we've got Cold Regions Research and Engineering Laboratory. So we really have quite a wide range of activities going on because of the different research engineering laboratories we have. So our top 10 USACE R&D priorities go to mitigate and adapt to climate change, minimize damage and disaster effects. Doesn't know where it wants to go. There we go. Win future wars, of course, because we are the Army. Modernize our nation's infrastructure. The Corps of Engineers has both a military and a civilian mission. And we've built a number of the big dams that are out there and many bridges. So we've got a lot of work that can be done on speeding up development of infrastructure and modernizing it or watching how it's doing. We have support. We have support. We want to make support and resilient communities. How can we help? We're looking for ways to do that. We're looking at how we might enable smart and resilient installations. There's a lot of opportunities in there for biotechnology and synthetic biology. We'd like to ensure environmental sustainability and resilience. There's a lot that can be done there too. 7, we let secure, reliable installation, energy. There's a lot of facets of installations that could be co-opted to degrade plastics and then use them to build more complex structures. 8, we're trying to revolutionize and accelerate decision making. This could be done by using chemicals or synthetic biology constructs to provide decision making on delicate situations. We have a lot of work improving cyber and physical security. And recently we just started protecting and defending the Arctic. So there is a lot of opportunities there to do things in very cold areas. Yeah, this is sort of a very detailed, but still a little few things missing about strategic focus areas. I'm really just going to talk about the installations and operational environments area where they have a lot of different investments. Oh, plug is going. Can you still? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Anyone hear me now?
I can hear you just fine.
Mhm.
You're still on the. Hold on. I lost everyone.
I can hear you.
Mhm.
Okay, great. That's all I need. Um, let me get to the right display view. Where did this darn thing go? Oh, there we go. So again, these kind of describe the wide range of areas that we're working in, all the way from installations of the future to innovative applications of big data analytics, basic research, other innovative research efforts. We're looking for partners and people that can start some new science and start applying it to our installations and operational environments. We'll send these out with the rest of the slides so that you can look at them a little bit more closely. There we go. And then in environmental environments, we're looking at a lot of basic research, but also applied research to understand the environment. How do we know what's going on in the environment when we have adversaries there? There's a number of ideas that we'd like people to work on and come to us and try to work with us and apply them in the field. Okay. That's good enough. We can get the thing to work. All right, let's see if we can change. What the heck? It was working yesterday. Can anyone see, you see the strategic focus area slide?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if that'll work. Here's a few topics that we're interested in synthetic biology for installations and operational environments. all the way from novel material development for advanced sensing and detection, to using plants or synthetic biology as an indicator of environmental disturbance or even eco surveillance. We're interested in everything from controlling heat or cold, stabilizing soil and dust control, corrosion protection, water purification, and waste decomposition. So we've got a lot of areas that we're interested in potential solutions from biotechnology and synthetic biology. And if you're interested with it, there'll be some names and numbers at the end of the presentation that you can get a hold of to see how what you're interested in doing might fit within this. So we're hoping to really change how we do engineering. Bioconcrete is a lightweight concrete made by bacteria, essentially. There's a lot of work in that area, looking at how they might actually grow foam that could be used to package things and ship things around. The big thing I think we're interested in right now is how do we use cement out in the field where we don't have too much supplies. We can grow structural materials, again, biocementation for runways, biocementation for structural hardening. We're interested in creating novel environmental solutions. People have used fungi to make walls and roofs to try to make them environmentally resilient. We have a large program in looking at resilient wetlands and optimizing those to resist insects and salt water. We have a lot of invasive species we're trying to manage out in the field. And we're looking for ways to keep them down so they don't take over our lakes and things like that. One area is a self-cleaning and stress reporting streams. We're interested in if you can get things developed for that we can see from far away and see what's happening in the area. Phytoremediation of different contaminants is a area that I think we're also investigating or interested in getting partners to investigate. So just a slide trying to look at some challenges to using SynBio by the Army. These are also topics that we're interested in people looking at and finding solutions for. This goes all the way from looking at the uncertainty and risk of deploying living sensors, devices, and materials. How can we do it safely by design? How do we understand the behavior out in the field? What should we be using, cell-free or non-living sensors? We would like to build a wind tunnel to do near real world testing before putting them out in the field. We're trying to understand how we might cross the valley of death, that is the funding for basic research and applied research don't seem to overlap, and this was mentioned in the previous talk, such that you get a valley of death, not enough money to get it going to prototyping. We're aware that if we want new approaches and tools for the 2040 timeframe, we really need to start working with partners and get more execution risk. We're very interested in working with early adoption prototyping and with users, and that could be small companies or other entities that we're looking at. And then there's one thing we hope we can talk to you about is that how can we increase the size and availability of workforce that can do synthetic biology type applications. This is a slide on educational partnering agreements. This allows ERDC and an educational institution to promote and enhance science and engineering education. Basically, what it enables us to do, it enables us to loan laboratory equipment to the institution, transfer laboratory equipment, make laboratory personnel available to teach science courses so that we can have more spreading of the types of science that we're trying to look at. using this signed agreement, faculty and students of the institution of the laboratory research can come and work on projects with us. And also it's trying to develop a program under which students may be given academic credit, give them something for what they're looking at and learning on. Then we can provide academic and career advice in with the civil works area and with the military area. So we've got 10, right now, currently we have 10 historically Black colleges and universities that we have education partnership agreements with. And again, that really allows us to trade in equipment, allows us to go work kind of as a sabbatical format with HBCUs. It also makes it easier for us to transfer equipment that we're no longer using, but would be a very high use within a different lab. So we're also involved in the HBCU minority student program for Army Research and Knowledge, kind of looking at it, called SPARK. This talks about one program that you can actually get a stipend of $1,000 a week, and interns can get a $250 dislocation amount. So it's basically going to the lab nearby you and working with someone there and how they can do science with the Army. If you go into it, you can get to the U.S. Army Engineers, click on See Details or Visit Site, and that will take you to where ERDC is describing its $1 billion in world-class facilities. This is sort of where we're at in the number world. We're very interested in building strong partnerships today and beyond. And with the HBCUs, we do have, we've got around 465 ERDC employees with degrees from different HBCUs. We've got collaborative research areas that last year there was, it was up to $31 million that were put towards that. 54 ERDC employees are on advisory boards and classroom engagements. And we have 30 different active agreements with different universities. We have about 246 ERDC employees with one or more degrees from the HBCUs that we're looking at to work with us to reach you and bring you into our research area to help us. For federal student employment programs, we have several different things put out by DoD, a science, technology, engineering, mathematics, STEM program for student employment, SSEP. And you can take a picture of the QR code and get directed to where you can find out more interesting facts about that program and see if you're eligible for it. So we also have a Pathways student program, which is an internal program that you can look at and see if you're interested. So that kind of the lightning approach, show you what we're doing and where we're at. You can get more information about all of these programs and how you might try to come visit ERDC or even work for us by looking at and talking to Speller Montgomery. She's our talent acquisition program manager at ERDC, and Cynthia Banks. And Cynthia has been instrumental in getting a number of different educational employment or educational research agreements. So that we can, excuse me. So that's all I got. Are we up for questions?
Sure. So thank you so much. I do want to thank you, Dr. McElhenney, Dr. Martindale, and Dr. Perkins for those very, very informative presentations. And I'm quite sure everyone in attendance has gained quite a bit of information about those programs and the grants and just the wonderful opportunities that you have. And yes, you are right, Dr. Perkins. At this time, we are going to open the floor for questions. So for those who are in attendance in the room, please feel free to open your mic and direct your questions to the speaker of your choice. And then I see there are some questions in the chat, but we'll give people the chance to open their mics first and ask those questions. So if you have a question, feel free. Now's your chance to get the answer.
Hello, this is Shafiqur Rahman. I am from Central State University. I am the research director over here. This question is directed to Dr. Perkins. As you have mentioned that you have 10 different active education partnership agreement with HBCU. So what are the criteria or condition to have that kind of partnership, and how Central State can be one of these active educational partnership agreement? What are the process? You are muted.
Dr. Perkins, I believe you're muted. Okay.
Yeah, so it's really not that hard to put one of these educational partnership agreements in place. Basically, we have our director signs on a sort of a declaration about it, and then your VP of research or some person in the university that has signing power, I guess, can sign them together. So basically, we kind of try to have like an ERDC day. We can bring a number of different people down there and talk about stuff. And then we would like you guys to come and talk to us at ERDC and get tours of that. See what kind of things are interesting to you and where we might work on it. And then sign the agreement. So I think they last about 5 years. And they do allow a lot of different things to happen, but we have to have people come and talk to us about it. Cynthia, did you manage to make it online? But those names at the end of the presentation.
If you can elaborate a little bit, like what kind of through this partnership, what kind of support or what kind of logistics are available?
It allows us to come down to your university and work with you. The money is a bit of an ad hoc thing as it comes. AROS has a kind of a line of funding that they can use, put you towards that. We're kind of working on common needs for doing different things, and we have to kind of work for the money after we agree to try to work together.
So is it mostly educational support, or is it also kind of research partnership agreement?
I think it's both.
Thank you.
Because we can just work, it allows us to work with you, come down to the university and work with you, or have you come and work with us. We still have to find the funds to do it, but that's opening the legal way to do that. So that helps too.
Thank you.
Hi. Hi. Can I go ahead?
Go right ahead. Yes, please go right ahead. Sure.
Hey, Dr. Perkins. So this is Arul from ASU. So ASU was recently grouped under a Hispanic serving institution. So under that grouping, would you consider it under the minority institute umbrella, or this is not?
Yeah, they're generally we're doing both HBCU and MI. Minority, just like you said, minority institute. So we're putting those all together, and they all are eligible to work with us through some of these other vehicles.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
I think Destiny, go ahead.
Hi, can you guys hear me well?
Yes, we can.
So the two questions that I had, I wanted to know if you would have to relocate for any of these opportunities, or is there I forgot, I'm sorry, I'm bad with names, but as the researcher, he mentioned that you guys would be able to visit the school. And the second question I had, my HBCU was not on that list, but I just wanted to make sure that or just to see if I was still eligible. I attend Tuskegee University.
Yeah, I mean, you can be up. That's just a partial list, and we're interested in developing more EPAs with other universities. So I think it's perfectly reasonable that we would come down there and talk with what you got, who's there, and then bring you out to ERDC just so that you can see in person what we're doing. The MI standing or you not being on our list yet often means that we just haven't gotten around to it yet. We also are interested in having a proponent for university. So I'm a proponent for University of Texas at Austin. Not really at MI or HBCU, but it's just another agreement with a university that allows us to use their facilities and other stuff. As far as having to be on base or having to do it in person at our labs, it really depends on what kind of thing you want to learn. We can get people from ERDC to come down to you and talk to you about what's going on and see what we might be able to do. The best approach I've found is to find a different source of money and then use that to pay for you to be up here at least for a couple weeks or a month. Start learning some of the tools we use and some of the experiments that we're interested in. Now, we also, DOD is putting together a digital backbone for biotechnology. So I think there also is going to be, there's also going to be opportunities through that would let you work out of your university through a console or computer, doing computational biology and working with analysis of large biological data sets. So that's an opportunity that I don't think we've really opened up yet for people. And I think they're finally getting the computers in the labs there, which will offer an opportunity for you guys to work with us if that's possible. It'd be an interesting area to work in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, great. All right, so let's go to Corrine Jackman. I see you have your hand up.
Hello, sorry. I am an incoming professor at University of Maryland, Baltimore County, the Department of Chemical, Biochemical, and Environmental Engineering. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I have two questions. My first one is, of the universities that are eligible to collaborate with in the program, can you provide some guidance or information about the likelihood of a proposal being accepted? My second question is, are there any requirements for students, like PhD or graduate students, in terms of after they graduate, whether they would, and I might have missed this, but whether they would be expected to serve the Army or DOD? I was wondering those two things.
Very good question. Someone from the panel.
Stephanie, you want to answer that one?
I'm sorry, I thought you were asking about the student partnership program at ERDC. Is that correct? Or were you asking about the funding opportunities?
I was asking about both. So the first question was, what is the likely of the universities that are eligible for funding? What is the likelihood of proposals being funded? And the second question is, if and when the proposal is funded, is there any requirement for the student to serve after they graduate in the Army or the DOD?
Yeah, so for our standard grants that are available through the ARL broad agency announcement, sort of the success rates will vary depending on the types of awards and which program you're applying to and all of that. But as Dr. Martindale said, because we do sort of a pre-screening step at the white paper stage, and we're encouraging proposals that we already feel very strongly, align with the programs. We typically have, a success rate between 75 to 80%, I think is our average. So if you get to the proposal stage, you're in pretty good situation compared to some of the other granting agencies, just because we already do a pre-screening from the white papers. Any students that are involved in research do not have any sort of service requirement afterwards. There are certain fellowship opportunities. There are very specific educational programs through the Army that do include service requirements, but those are not part of our broad agency announcement. That's through the Army Educational Outreach Program.
Thank you.
Yep.
Fantastic. I see that Vakatesh,
Yes.
I apologize if I mispronounced your name.
Yes, thanks for giving this opportunity. And I'm from University of Houston, and we are working on two different areas of research, particularly on fungal biotechnology and biomanufacturing. So the question is about fungal biotechnology, and should we reach out to the program managers? Is there any specific program manager for fungal biotechnology, or in general, we need to talk to program manager dealing with biotechnology?
So within the Army Research Office, we don't have a specific program on biotechnology per se, but you'll see it across sort of all of our programs within the BS competencies, within that biological and biotechnology sciences competency. With the focus on fungal work, I would suggest you maybe start with our microbiology program with Dr. Kokoska. But as Dr. Martindale said, once you reach out to one of us, you're basically reaching out to the whole cohort of us. So if it's not something that fits in Bob's program per se, the rest of us will be able to see that, and we can get back to you if it fits in one of our other programs that might better align potentially with what you're trying to do. So I would say reach out to the, as Valerie said, the one that's the best fit that you think based on what you're trying to do, and then we'll help you if that isn't the best fit. We'll help you find the right fit.
Okay. I think one other follow-up question is regarding the agreement. Should we initiate the agreement first before having the discussion, or should we start having the discussion and then eventually the agreement will take place?
So for the Army Research Office, we don't need an agreement with you, right? You're basically submitting a proposal for funding. If you're talking about an agreement, with an Army laboratory like the ERDC laboratory that Dr. Perkins is involved with, that would be something separate from a submission of a proposal for funding from our office. Does that help?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, wonderful. Great questions. Let's jump over to the chat and let's see if we can take care of a few of the questions that have been typed in there. There's a question from Lisa, and Lisa would like to know, for the early career awards, do all PIs on a multi-PI project need to be considered early career or just lead PI? I don't know who on the panel would like to take that question.
Yeah, I tried to drop an answer to that in the chat as well, but for the early career award in particular, that is an award that is for a single individual lead PI. So we can consider joint multi-PI projects with our single investigator awards, but the early career award is an award to the individual. And so that's a single PI project.
Okay, thank you, Dr. McKinley. I'm sorry, I did not see that you responded to in the chat. That's good. Okay, wonderful. So we've taken care of that. Let's see. Let's scroll down. Destiny had her questions answered. Fatima would like to know, can dual citizens, American citizens plus another, apply for these grants? Did someone already answer that? Am I late?
I did answer in the chat, but I'll be happy to say yes, they can. We do have a little bit of extra reporting requirement for that specific situation, but in fact, non-citizens can apply for most of our grants. There are specific ones that are reserved for U.S. citizens, but our most common ones are definitely not.
Okay, and now I see your response. I see that actually most of the questions in the chat have been answered. So again, we'll open up the floor for anyone who would just like to unmute themselves and ask a question that hasn't been put in the chat.
There's also a new one that just came in at the bottom of the chat, Crystal.
Okay, thank you, Jean. Okay, so Destiny, I think this is the newest question. Destiny would like to ask, is this open to undergraduate students or rising graduate students? And when can we reach out to apply?
So a couple of answers to that. One is there are specific student programs, but the grant programs that we spoke of, it would be a faculty member applying. However, it is an excellent idea to support a graduate student on an application. The faculty member would still be responsible for the conduct of the research, but it's not at all unusual for a graduate student to do the bulk of it. And we have also had undergraduate students involved in the research. They're just not the primary responsibility.
Well, also, looking back, the Spark program, they say that it's targeting undergraduate and graduate students majoring in STEM fields. So where that one is available for you to apply to what do you call it? Internship, where it's basically you stay there for the summer and try to work with one of our scientists kind of in a student application area.
I happen to be the contractual project manager for the Army Spark program. Yes, we take graduate and undergraduate students as long as you are attending an HBCU or MI full-time. Will not graduate before, will not graduate before this December. And you're in a STEM major, you could absolutely be eligible. When we get through here in just a minute with the questions, one of the contact information things we'll put up on the screen is the website where all of the information about the program is captured.
Thank you.
And I realize part of the issue here is we are talking about several different programs. A lot of opportunity.
Yes, this is a kind of smash up of different opportunities and internships and grant opportunities, but very valuable information that you all are providing. Again, I want to thank everyone on the panel, and also all the attendees. Do we have any other questions? Again, anyone that's in attendance, feel free to raise your hand, unmute yourself, ask your question. And let's see.
It's 1:57. Maybe we should start wrapping it up so we can give them the information.
About that time. Okay. All right. So that's my cue. So that will wrap up today and we'll conclude our questions. But you should see contact information for today's speakers on your screen so you can continue discussions after today's webinar. We encourage you to take a photo of the contact information so you'll be sure that you have it. While you're doing that, I'd like to remind you that the applications for the 2025 Army HBCU-MI Student Program for Army Research and Knowledge are open through January the 12th, 2025. If you have students who might be interested in a summer internship in an Army research facility, you can find more information at armyspark.com, and that's ARMYSPARK.com. And that address is also on the screen in front of you right now. Again, we'd like to thank our speakers for today, Dr. Valerie Martindale, Dr. Stephanie McElhenney from the DEVCOM ARL Army Research Office. And I'd also like to thank Dr. Edward Perkins. And we would like to thank all of you for joining us today to learn about synthetic biology research opportunities with the Army. This will conclude our presentation. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thank you and happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you.